Hey everybody, Invisiblekatana here doing my review for Season 2, Episode 7 and 8 of The Bad Batch, The Clone Conspiracy, and Truth and Consequences. Really enjoyed these episodes. I would say Episode 7 more than Episode 8 really made me feel like this show, specifically I should say this season actually, does a bit of a disservice to the crew itself because my favorite episodes are the two where they're not in it. I definitely enjoyed episode 8 without a doubt because it was definitely fun. I actually liked that mission because it was a stealth mission. They got into a bit of a skirmish, but it was less so that they fought their way out of an impossible situation. They just had to actually escape. They technically did because in the first part, they did actually fight their way out. But it wasn't like they went through a whole facility and managed to escape over and over again and did all this different stuff. It was like they had a little firefight. They escaped in a very cool way by setting the ship on its side and then shooting off in the escape pod. It was actually really cool. And it was just like, I always end up feeling like the best stuff that they end up doing with the show doesn't really include the characters. And that's really unfortunate. Like the whole point is it's the Bad Batch. Like I said, I enjoyed the mission, but as far as, what was going on and, the clone conspiracy and all that stuff, that was more exciting because I was like, well, what is happening? Is that Sniper Crosshair? That's of course what I was thinking at first. I think a lot of people did. Why wouldn't you just they changed them up just obviously for what they were doing. They wanted to make sure it was obviously a hidden assassin. So it was like, well, that could end up being Crosshair. It wasn't, but just the way they were handling things, I was like, is this senator gonna get killed off? She definitely is now. Like, I'm sure she'll show up again and she'll be alive, but at some point, it's gonna be like, I don't know how she got that information, but Palpatine had to come up and, obviously he tricked him, which was an amazing thing, but it was like, that's a horrible situation for her to be in. But going from episode 7 to episode 8, I like what they had. The clone conspiracy was really fun. It kicks off really quick where it's like, here's what's happening, and these clones are dealing with the fact that they destroyed their home. Like, for all intents and purposes, they destroyed their home. That's what they were ordered to do, and they did it. They followed the orders, and then it's just more and more clones being like, this sucks. Like, we shouldn't have to do this where we're destroying, our home planet. Technically speaking, it's the clones' home planet. We're destroying our home planet. We're killing our own people, and then it's just what we're told to do, and then we're off to do something else, and no one cares about us. We have this crazy bill coming up, and we don't even get pensions, and what do we do and where do we go? All this stuff is happening to them, and it was a really cool way to handle the transition into the stormtrooper. Like, that's literally what these two episodes were about. By the time we get to the end, it's not just, oh, they don't really get pension and they're kind of pushed out. It's like, it's especially with Palpatine coming in and saying it is like definitive. It's like, it's not just, oh, this is kind of like another legislature that leads closer to it. It was like, no, this is the one. And they talked about the way they kind of played it, I felt early on, was more about the whole pension thing and being like, well, they need to fight and they want to have, resources after things are all said and done. So it was focused a lot more on that until it got to the end. And then I felt like they were like, forget all that crap, of course, because it's not happening anyway. But this was about getting the stormtroopers, because despite him being, Emperor Palpatine, he still needs the people. He still needs, all the different systems to believe what he's doing. That's a big part of becoming a stormtrooper. Is like, well, it's easier because we just have people that straight up want to do it. I think they reference that like in the very first season when they have like the proto stormtroopers come in, where it's like, we got them because they want to do this, and that makes them more loyal. They weren't bred to do it, and then they kind of changed their minds like, oh, I didn't like that we did this. It's like, no, they came here to do something and they did it. So this was definitely a cool set of episodes with the way they handled it. Like I said, I just felt like the intensity of it was just more in the first part, which unfortunately it did not involve the actual crew. So it's just like, I feel like that's something that they do in these episodes where it's just like, yeah, my favorite ones technically don't have them in it. And that feels really weird considering the series, but still two great episodes. I absolutely loved them. Obviously Rex comes back, so that was really cool. We got a reference to the two sisters. I of course do not remember their names, but the Mary J. Blige girl, I do remember. I made that joke because that's what she looked like, the hairstyle. But the sisters, I remember them, so it was like, okay, that's cool that they had that location. It's like, they're gone for now, and of course I thought for a second they were gonna have Ahsoka maybe pop up. And there was also at some point Rex was like, I have a friend of mine, but she's not really big on meeting people. I thought for sure that was going to be Ahsoka, and then it actually ended up being a Kamino, and I was like, oh, okay, that's more relevant to what they're doing. But 100%, I just totally spit on myself somehow. But 100%, I was like, oh, he's about to reference Ahsoka, and it was like, no, it's this other person. I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But I like the way it was handled. The espionage, just actually the dark, fun side of it, where it was like, this senator is trying to do something good, but obviously it ain't working out too well. And so I like the way that was handled. You know, she's got a sniper coming after her. We have the clone that meets up with her. Of course, he ends up being killed before he ends up meeting up with Rex. Her guards end up being killed and she's saved by Rex. And that's when they find out that it was just another clone. His identification was removed. He has basically their version of cyanide, which is like an electric, you know, activator or whatever that, you know, electrocutes him, and he's gone. And so it was like, you know, it was an intense set of episodes. And then it's like, we need this stuff to, at the very least, just help our brothers, you know, like that's all we can really do. It might not give them the pension and all this stuff, but we can at least kind of help them out. We can definitely get rid of this douchebag, which I'm honestly shocked they got rid of the guy. Still don't remember his name, and I'm always fine with that when it's a villain. I'm like, you know, I don't care if I disrespect the bad guys, especially those. Like Darth Maul is like, I will remember Darth Maul. This dude was an a-hole, and I just don't care. So that's just how it is. I think when they're actually just Imperials, I'm just like, you're not a Sith. I don't respect you. Like, just, you can go. So he's gone, and we'll see how that plays out. He might try to say something. He might just die. He might get, honestly, he might just get killed off. Like, oh, you got busted? That's a real shame. Like, why don't we just push him off of this really deep ledge and then see what happens? So he might be gone forever, but he could come back. So we'll just have to wait and see how that plays out. But the way it was handled at the end, it was like, all right, they got the information. They made the cool escape. They got the info to the senator. She goes out and is like, this is what happened. For half a second, I was scared that it wasn't even going to work. I was like, they're going to hit this button and they'll find out that it was empty, which wouldn't make a lot of sense. He would have seen that the data was different. Like, I'm assuming that when he was going through the data, it showed what it was. But for half a second, I was like, it's not going to work. And then it popped up, everything worked. And I was like, holy crap, it worked. And it seemed good, of course, because I'm just like, they did it. Like, they did the good thing. And it's like, this guy's, you know, obviously he's been like the face, as far as the villain, he's kind of been the face of the show. And so it's like, well, he's busting now. I was like, this is crazy. Like, what's going to happen next? And everybody's chatting and stuff. And then the floor opens up and I was like, oh crap. And Emperor Palpatine comes up and I was like, whatever's about to happen isn't going to be good. Like, he's obviously pissed. Like, this got busted. But of course, being like at the tippy top of villainy, he's like, man, I think it was Rampart was his name. Something like that. It's like, he did something that was really bad. And the clones did it too, without hesitation. I was like, wow. As soon as he said it, it was just like, he did it. He like instantly just 180. Like, this is a horrible situation. And these clones just do as they're told and they wiped out their own planet. That's real sad. But you know what? Stormtroopers, bad as fuck. Well, we should do that, guys. And then they do it, because that's obviously how we get stormtroopers. Obviously, if he said it that way, that would have been really weird. But that's what he did in his own very cool villain way. And it was like, you know, we need the Imperial Stormtrooper. And I don't think I've ever heard Stormtroopers said in all of Star Wars in a cooler way than in this moment that I experienced, where he was like, we need the Imperial Stormtroopers. And it was like, holy crap. That's how we got them. And it's crazy. Like, I didn't think that that's what we were ending at, where it was like, obviously it was referenced in the show, like, you know, going from season 1, it was like, that's what they were kind of showing, like little snippets of the Empire. Like, probably my favorite stuff, honestly. What is the transition to the Stormtrooper? That's one of the most entertaining, like, really small pieces of this series, because they've really only touched on it. I think this was honestly the second time. The first time was with those original people, which I really wish that they would focus more on that and like bring them in more, you know, doing some of the stuff with Crosshair. I think that would be fantastic. Maybe they will bring them back once we get to more of the, you know, kind of wide-ranging stormtroopers just being a part of the Empire, and we'll start to see excuse me, we'll start to see like clones versus troopers, which would be absolutely fantastic. I'm sure we will see that. I feel like at some point something's gonna happen, and it's like, there's a reason that there aren't really clones. I mean, obviously a lot go into hiding and stuff, but at some point you will have clones versus troopers, and I'm sure some of the other clones will still be kind of under the spell of like Order 66. So some people will kind of break off, some people won't. So you'll have stormtroopers and clones working together against the clones that have kind of decided to break away. And it's like, they could easily lead to that. There could be like, technically speaking, there could be like a mini Clone War, but I doubt that'll happen. I feel like I'm being way too hopeful to think that they're going to have some insane battle where a bunch of the clones actually team up. But who knows? This could easily lead into one of the coolest things we've ever seen, and we wouldn't expect it, especially from the Bad Batch. I honestly feel like they step really far away from all the super epic stuff, and every once in a while they bring us in like stormtrooper stuff, the transitions. That's really cool. I want to see more of that, and I hope we do get a lot more of that. But for now, it was definitely a great step. We are officially transitioning into the stormtrooper stuff. We'll see what happens as far as when they really reference it again, but it was definitely a really cool ending, and also a sad ending, because at first it was just like, holy crap, the villain won, and like played into his hands, and it was like, all right, that sucks, but it was a cool moment. And then it was like, because that happened, Echo leaves the team, and I was just like, I was just sad as Omega. I was like, but Echo, he's like, I know him though, like I know I forgot everything about Clone Wars, but he was there, like his name isn't easy to remember like Fives. It's easier, but it's Echo, like it's Echo. So it was sad that he was gone. So it'll be weird, going forward, because the team and him leaving also made me realize, like, the squad, like, they're obviously insanely skilled. That's the whole point. It's like, man, they don't have anybody, because initially, of course, it was like they had their whole squad, and it was like, well, Crosshair's not one of the villains, so he's gone. And then you take Echo out, and it's like, oh wow, they really only have there's only 4 people, when it's like 4 compared to 5. I don't know why, but it seems like such a drastic difference. And it was like, wow, it really is such a small team. And to see him leave, I honestly was probably like the first time I felt how tiny the cast of characters are. And then he's gone, and it's like, that's crazy. And he's just gonna be gone. I'm sure we'll see him, of course, eventually later in the season, probably during the finale. But it's like, wow, Rex is gone. That dynamic of the show, because he definitely had like a secondary position. Like, there were a couple episodes where they kind of show, it's like he was, it's Hunter at the top, of course, but it definitely always felt like Echo would end up kind of being a second in command. And now he's gone, so I'm like, that does change the team dynamic. I mean, not much, because it's like, technically the leader is still there, but it does change some things around a little bit. So I am excited to see where they go with this. But of course, it's sad to see Echo though, because he was kind of a staple clone. He's one of the, like, since Clone Wars, like, he's one of the ones that's like always really special. So we'll see what happens there. Echo's not in Rebels, and I think of that a lot. So I'm curious what they're gonna do with that. So we'll see what happens. I don't want to end on like that sad note of thinking about that, but I'm like, I've watched Rebels, and unless they got all the things removed and I'm crazy, and Echo was there and I just forgot, and he also got a hand. Well, I guess technically they could do that. I mean, Revenge, I was gonna say Revenge of the Jedi, but old name, Return of the Jedi. Obviously, Luke had the hand, so I was like, I guess technically they could have done it, but I don't think they ever referenced that. I don't think that was Echo. So we'll see what happens. But we'll deal with that sadness. If it even happens, he could go off and be happy. We don't know. But until we get to that point, we'll wait. But 2 really fun episodes. I'm excited to see what they do with the next one. I think it could be a really good character episode. They could actually touch on the fact that they've lost a team member, and they could focus on that. And even if it's not like an action episode, if it's something that really dives into the characters, I think I'd be perfectly fine with that. And I think we could get that. I feel like it's something that, once again, much like the Stormtrooper stuff, it's a rare spot that we see. Like, the team just works together and it's good. We don't see too many of these super deep moments where they have to like contemplate, where they, their place in the universe. And now it's like they've lost, a part of their family. What are they going to do next? So definitely looking forward to that. Definitely happy where, bittersweet with the Echo thing. But as far as like, Palpatine showed up, and that's just amazing. Like, that was, I'm sure that was in one of the trailers, and I probably just completely forgot. But I never even thought, honestly. I was like, it's Palpatine. Like, he's doing something. It's like when they have superheroes. It's like, oh yeah, they're off world. That's how I feel about Palpatine. I know he's on Coruscant, but it's like, it's Palpatine. He's got stuff to do. He's doing evil stuff. And then he showed up, and I was like, that's super cool. Like, Emperor Palpatine was in this episode. So it's always great to see it, because it's it's a classic character, and he's the guy, admittedly, who would do like the least action wise. So it's definitely something where it's like, you don't really expect to see him in general, but this probably was like their only opportunity. He's on Coruscant. At some point he blows up, but like, that's about it. In between, he's it's not too much, not too much. He's got Vader for that. So I liked it. So it was a good cameo. Sad disappearance by a character, despite the fact that we have the voice actor still 4 times over. Depending on what, well, it'll probably be 4 times over no matter what. If there's one other clone, it's 4 times over. Which is so crazy. It's still crazy to think one guy is doing the voice for all the clones. It's super weird, but amazing. So definitely enjoying it. Definitely a really cool way to end it, getting Emperor Palpatine sadly losing Echo. But we got to see Rex, we got to see Palpatine, we did get a cool mission. We got introduced to a new senator that's going to be on the side of the clones, and another character that they can kind of go back to. We of course got Senator Bail Organa. You can't, if there's one person that has to show up on Coruscant, it would have to be him. I swear he's like inching up as far as appearances. It's like, that dude has got to be on the coattails of R2 and 3PO, because I'm like, that dude is in it. It's obviously, he can't be in the originals, but it's like, that dude is in everything. So it's always fun to see him. It's also just really funny because I'm like, nobody, if you can ever just be like, I hope we get a cameo, you could just put money on it. It's like Bail Organa's gonna show up. It just happens. So want to know what you guys thought about these 2 episodes, what you guys are thinking about the season as a whole. I think we're technically halfway through, or probably less than that, or yeah, probably less than half. It might be more than 60, it might be like 20 something. I hope it's 20 something, but definitely enjoying it so far. Had our ups and downs. This was one of the ups, 100%. Both episodes were good, so I would love to know your thoughts on that and like how things have been going so far, because I've mentioned probably my past couple where I'm like, you know, the last one, you know, we got Wookiees and stuff, and it's like, okay, that was decent. Tapped a little bit into the, you know, Jedi stuff. Felt okay. Went to Kashyyyk, was like, maybe this, you know, that could easily come back, and it would seem cool. This was like on a whole different level. It was like, okay, this is Stormtrooper stuff. This is dealing with clones, Stormtroopers, them killing each other, them deciding to escape and something, more and more clones escaping. It's a really good concept. Like, just, they're all technically brainwashed, but somewhere in there it doesn't work, and they get to choose to leave. So we'll see what happens with a whole bunch of stuff. This popped into my head. I hope we get to see the dude from the last season who had like the teal armor. The color was amazing, and everybody loves that guy because he realized what was going on. So I hope we get to see him this season. But want to know your thoughts on these 2 episodes, so please put your comments down in the comment section below. Shameless plug, I do streaming. I always forget to do that. It was in the beginning, Invisiblekatana stuff. I'm on everything. Follow my socials if you like. But yeah, I stream, so check out, I recently beat Dead Space last night, which was amazing, so definitely check that out. I will be putting up probably a couple of different highlight videos, so you guys can check those out at some point. But thanks for watching this. Like I said, I want to know what you guys thought about the episode, so please put your comments down in the comment section below.